the Group Program Manager for Messaging in Microsoft Teams. We're really excited to be able to talk to you today, get your feedback, and maybe share some of the more obscure features and maybe some of the best practices with working with messaging, both in chat as well as in Teams and channels. I'm also here with Salil.
Hi, everyone. I'm Salil. I work with Mark on the messaging side, and looking forward to sharing some of the tips and tricks that we've been using internally and that we've learned from our customers. And looking forward to learning from you what else you've done that works for you better.
That's great. So as folks may know, Microsoft Teams is the collaboration hub for Office 365. And that means that not only do we do text collaboration, but we do a whole range of different types of collaboration. That includes calling and meetings and many other things that we can do with Office 365 as well. For the purposes of this session, what we're going to be focusing on is chat in Teams specifically. So we're going to be looking at how do we sort of make it easier to collaborate using chat one-on-one or in small groups. And then how do we actually use Teams as a way of organizing our conversations, making posts, and soliciting feedback from other people. So chats really is designed for individual and small group collaboration. It's a way for you to reach out to your peers, to be able to exchange some quick messages, maybe to resolve an issue or check with them on some information, or to actually engage with a group of your peers and be able to resolve an issue sort of collaboratively in an informal way. Channels is more of the model really where Teams starts to shine as it relates to group collaboration. This is where you can create individual teams or teams of individuals. You can organize individual channels underneath those along specific topic lines and get people basically collaborating in those particular channels to make posts, to share ideas, to inform people or make announcements of what's happening. And in channels, we have a slightly different model than in chat, where we actually create posts and we manage the replies of those posts as threads. So it makes it really easy for you to keep all the information related to a particular topic organized, and makes it a lot easier for you to go back and refer to what occurred compared to, for example, a chat. So what we wanted to do was give you sort of some of the quick, features that we tend to use quite a bit when we manage our chat workload, and share those with you. So the first thing that we do is we really like to make sure, at least when I work within Microsoft Teams, and I use it every day for my work, in fact, we use it to build our product, we have ongoing chats with many, many different people. But there's a core set of people that are really important to me. So, for example, my boss is somebody that I want to make sure I never lose or miss a message from, as well as my core team, right? So the people that I work with on a day-to-day basis, or key partners. And so if you kind of leave Microsoft Teams to run the way that it normally runs, you'll see all of your chats sort of organized in their most recent box, right? So you'll be able to say, okay, well, I see all the new chats coming in, and I can go ahead and interact with those and handle them as they come. But sometimes you like to be able to see what everybody is actually, all your key people in one location. And that's where you can do things like favorite chats. So, for example, I can find a person that I'm collaborating with in chat. I can go ahead and hit that ... menu. And from there, select favorite. And that'll go ahead and pin it and add it to the very top of that channel, or the very top of that left rail. And that allows you to, at a glance, see whether there's any new messages from that individual. And it also is convenient because you can actually just scan that list and see what their presence is as well. So if they're available, you can see really from the chats pane right away whether they're all there. And so you can keep an eye on your sort of close people, the close people that you work with. Another thing that happens a lot in chats, because we tend to have so many of them that go on, is that there may be cases where somebody has asked me a question or has made a request of me, and I don't have time to handle it in that moment, right? It might be maybe I'm on the go between two meetings. Maybe I just don't have the right amount of time to handle the request the way it really needs to be handled. So a good thing to do and a good practice to have here is to be able to use bookmarking to be able to return quickly back to things that is kind of unfinished business. So the way this works is that you can easily just go ahead and hover over a message that you want to track and you want to come back to. And you can hit sort of the saved button, which looks like a little bookmark. And what this will do is that this will collect all those messages that have that state and allow you to get back to them later. The way you get back to them is you can go ahead and click on your picture, your profile picture up at the top. And from there, you can hit saved. And what that will do is retrieve all the messages that you've bookmarked. And from there, you can go ahead and click on each individual item over in the left-hand side under saved. And it'll jump you right to the chat or right to the channel of the item that you would save. And so this is a really great way for people who are, really busy throughout the day and want to be able to collect things to go handle later when maybe they have half an hour to go work through all their chats. This is a great way for them to organize all that information and get back to it really easily. Another thing that we can do here is to pause notifications. And this is really important if you're needing to focus on work. And so sometimes you might get pulled into a group chat that is really, really noisy and where there's just a lot of activity happening on it. And you may not want to see all the notifications coming in for those messages. So what you can do is you can mute a chat, and that just effectively turns off all the notifications for that group chat. So I can come in and I can go ahead and again hit that ... menu, select mute. And as you'll see, the profile picture is updated, so it has a little bell with an arrow or a line through it, indicating that it's not providing notifications anymore. And then you just you can continue working as though you normally would. And if you want to, you can come back later and unmute it again. So another trick here is working together with group chat. So you want to make sure that sometimes you're having a conversation with an individual, let's say Adele, and we need to pull somebody in to resolve an issue. So I could initiate a whole new chat and go to the new chat button at the very top of the screen and type in everybody's name, or I could just add them to the existing chat. So here I can go ahead and just hit add, enter in their name, select them, and that'll just add them to a chat. And as this is a new group chat, there's no history that's basically preserved. So this starts it off from a blank slate, and now sort of Patty, Adele, and I can go ahead and have this discussion. Now later on, I might find that, sorry, another tip here is that when you start a group chat, it's really convenient to be able to name it as well. So if you're trying to address a topic, you can go ahead and hit the edit button up at the top, and there just enter in a string, a name for the group, and that will go ahead and become the new group chat name. And so this allows you to jump easily back to that particular topic at a later date, and it'll show up again sort of in your recent chat list as that title, the legal discussion in this case. When you add new participants to an ongoing group chat, you get an additional option, which is to share the context of what the history was for that group chat. So if you add another participant in, you can choose to either not include the chat history. So for example, if you had been discussing some other topic, or maybe you had been discussing something related to that person and you didn't want them to see that, you could go ahead and just say, don't include the chat history. Or you can optionally choose to share up to a certain number of days of history with them. So this is really convenient if you want to give people context about what's occurring in that particular thread. So if you're pulling them in to ask them a question, they'll be able to really know what you're referring to at that moment. Another thing that you can do is to catch people's sort of attention within a group chat and also in channels. And you can do that through @mentioning them. And this will create a special notification in the activity pane informing them that they've been mentioned by name. So this is, I think, a fairly recent feature that we've added into group chats, but it's really convenient because if you're in a group chat or in a lot of different group chats, sometimes you really, you want to be able to signal to a person, regardless of where they are or what they're working on, that you need their attention on something. And so being able to @mention them by name in a group chat is a really convenient way of pulling them back into that group chat very, very efficiently. So you just hit the @ symbol, type in their name, or select it from the suggestions, and then you're off to the races. So we also have a section on teams and channels. Do you want to cover it? Or do you want me to keep going?
Keep going.
All right, I'm going to keep going.
I'm answering some questions on the left
Excellent.
as they come in the chat as well.
I'm on a roll. So teams and channels. Teams and channels is a little bit of a different environment, right? It's more public. It's sort of an environment where you're collecting feedback, and there's just a whole bunch of different ways of interacting with it. It's also a threaded model. So the idea is that when you create a post, people can reply to that post within the context of that post, and then add their feedback to it as it goes. So, for example, typically what you'll see in a channel is something similar to this, where you might have a post that was made. There's a reply button, but there's also a new conversation button. So the reply button will actually reply to the thread, and so you'll be able to collect all the feedback, and will be grouped with that particular thread, so it'll all remain in context. And then the new post is really a way of creating your own post at that moment. A thing that we see a lot of sometimes, and we're working on this as well to make it a little bit clearer, is that a lot of new users will come into channels and they'll see something that was posted, and they'll immediately go to the sort of new post area and try to reply to it. And what that will actually do is just create a new post, and it won't actually be within the context of the thread that they intended to reply to. So this is just something to sort of alert your users to. And we're working on ways of signaling this to users to inform them and educate them in the moment as they start using the tool as well. But it's a common thing that happens.
And internally within the Teams team, at least, we call this a dangling reply, where the intent was to reply, but you started it as a new post.
Yeah. So communicating your ideas with rich formatting. So, we can actually type in a quick message and we're good to go, but Teams actually offers a lot of richness in the formatting of the messages as well. So for example, if I hit that little A button down beneath the compose box, I end up with a whole set of different options that I can use to format my message and to really make it more communicative. So for example, I can highlight individual text blocks if I want to in different colors. I can change the fonts, I can change the size, I can underline it, bold it, italicize, all the things that you would expect. There's also some pre-built sort of paragraph templates and formats that are in there. So if I wanted to drop a block of code into a particular post, I could do that. Or if I have a quote that I really want to call out, I can do that as well. So the great thing about this is that you can really start authoring, messages that are really well, very, very clearly formatted and very communicative. So, in this case, for example, we have something around the quarterly review prep. It has a title associated with it. I can see the body of the content. I can see the at mentions of particular people that were referenced, and the due date highlighted, which is really convenient for me. I can also go ahead and attach content to this as well. So, for example, I can hit the paperclip icon down at the bottom, go ahead and select something from my computer, and then upload it directly into the message. And then when it posts, it's all just there all together. I don't have to go any other place. I don't have to download anything. I can just click on the quarterly review and view it in line and start working on it. So it's a convenient way of really capturing all the information, but also formatting it in a way that's really approachable. So we also like to lighten up the mood a little bit in Microsoft Teams, and so we offer a variety of different sort of playful. So text can be a pretty tough medium to work in sometimes. You might communicate something and people might take it the wrong way, or maybe your intent wasn't really clear. And so these are mechanisms to allow people to basically correct that and sort of set the tone a little bit more playfully. So one of the features that I really love are the stickers, and these are ways that where I can take a custom image like this "oh yeah" guy and basically make it my own. So there's some custom text there. I can go ahead and say, I love this team. Go ahead and post it, and now I can create a post with that content in it directly, or I can add it as a reply, do those kinds of things. And it's just a great way to lighten up the team. And we have a whole variety of these different stickers and emojis and even GIFs that are available just to sort of build some camaraderie and get people working more smoothly together. Another thing that we've done is there's a lot of information that appears in channels, and sometimes it's hard to scan through it and know what's new and what's important and what I should be paying attention to. So, for example, when you're scanning through your channel post, you'll be able to see that new replies are present, and in fact, they'll be highlighted with this little new icon that appears next to the number of replies that are there. Another way that you can scan through it is that you can look for important posts. So in the composition box that you saw before, there's a little exclamation point there. That will make the post basically be highlighted and draw people's attention to it. It'll create sort of this important post exclamation point icon off to the right. And anywhere where your @ mentioned, you'll see that you'll have a little @ sign next to the location of that @ mention. So we'll take you right to that location. And then you'll also see your name highlighted in bold red, which makes it really convenient for you to jump right to the place where you need to address them.
And just to add on to the important marker and the @mention marker, on your left-hand side, whether it's a channel or a chat, if it's an unread channel or chat and there's an important or an @mention, you will see those icons. So you can scan your left rail, as we call it, to see whether there's something that you need to look at first before other areas.
So the other thing that you can do is you can share, if a post has been made in one channel, you sometimes might want to reference that post in like a group chat or in a chat or in another channel. And so there's a great new feature, which is to allow you to copy a link to a particular post and be able to paste that into a different channel or into a chat, so that people that receive that chat or see it can just click on it and be taken right to the post and read the original content. So the way you do that is, once again, if you're seeing a post, you can go ahead and hit that ... menu and go ahead and hit the copy link option. Then when you're composing a post, either in a different channel or as a chat, you can go ahead and just hit Control-V, and a link to that particular post will be inserted in along with the title if there's a title. So that gives people the ability to just basically hit that link and then jump right into that content. So it's a really convenient way of sort of cross-linking different posts across the channel. Another thing that we've really done is we know that collaboration occurs in all sorts of different modalities. And so one of the things that we wanted to do was make it really, really easy for people to hop into a meeting together to discuss something face-to-face. So if there's a post that was made and there's a thread that's getting really, really sort of a lot of attention, sometimes we see this within the Microsoft Teams team where we'll end up with a post that has like 57 replies in it. We might just need to go ahead and sort of short circuit that by scheduling a meeting in line. We'll go ahead and hit, there's a little camera icon there for Meet Now. You can go ahead and hit that. And what that does is it basically just allows you to schedule a meeting or create an informal meetup, almost like, hey, walking around offices and saying, hey, you guys have a second to talk about this particular issue, and schedule it all in line right within the context of the thread, so that the people who are paying attention to that can hop into the meeting and discuss the issue. So it's really convenient for just pulling people together on very short notice and getting them engaged. You can also go ahead and there's a schedule a meeting button down at the bottom. You can also go ahead and click on that. And what that will do is that'll allow you to actually schedule that meeting in a future date. And the scheduled meeting will appear within the context of that thread. So everybody who is participating in that thread will know that there's a meeting upcoming to discuss that particular topic. So again, that's a really convenient way of doing it. And people who are seeing this thread while a meeting is going on will see that there's an ongoing discussion that's occurring in real time. They can go ahead and just hop in. The other way to collaborate is, let's say, for example, I was working on this document, this Mark 8 customer engagement document, and I wanted people to provide some feedback on it. I can go ahead and, users can go ahead and click on that document and just open it up inline in Microsoft Teams. Now, off to the right-hand side, where the cursor is located, you'll see that there's a little chat button there. Well, if I open up that chat button, you'll see a pane there appear. And this is the original post, as well as all the different replies that were made on that particular post. And so as it's not shown here, but there's a composition box down at the bottom of that column. And so I can go ahead and provide feedback. I can comment. I can do, continue the chat or see the comments that were made prior, and continue to contribute to that thread if I choose to. And that's all sort of captured back in the original post. So when I'm done commenting, everything's there. So there's a few more tricks that we can show you, but for these, we're just going to jump directly to the live product, and we'll show it to you there. So favoriting channels, so make sure that they're always in view. A lot of times, a team will have a lot of different channels in them, and you might only be interested in like 3 or 4 of them, and not maybe everything else. So we provide you with a mechanism of making sure that those can always stay in view in your teams and channels list. There's also the ability to send email to a channel. So if I have, for example, an announcement that I want to make sure everyone sees, perhaps in a general or an announcements channel, I can go ahead and get the email address for a particular channel and just include that while I'm composing an email and send that email body right to that channel. So this is really helpful for example, for announcing an organizational change or announcing something that's really important, where typically people might do that through email. They can do it through email and make sure that people in teams are aware of it as well. So it sort of amplifies your ability to communicate. And then the last one is being able to use composition messages. So that's using applications to sort of augment the messages that you're composing. And so I'll show you a few of these examples really quick here. So I'm going to hop out and go jump into Teams. So the first one was making sure that the channels that you care about are actually going to be favorited. So you can go ahead and right within Microsoft Teams, you can go ahead and hit the 4 more channels. This is kind of the overflow menu. Let's say legal and compliance is something I'm really interested in. I can go ahead and hit the star there, and that'll just automatically add it so that it's always visible within my top level view. So that's convenient for getting back to it and for really monitoring it and staying on top of it. And I can do that across many, many different channels and really customize this area. The other one was looking at the email address. So for example, let's say legal and compliance was something that I wanted to be able to send an email to. I can go ahead and hit get email address. And this will provide me with a custom email address for this channel. And now I can go into Outlook or my favorite email client, paste that address into the to line, and any message that's sent will end up in that channel as a post. And people will be able to see the content of the post and be able to reply to it. The last one was looking at compose extensions. So as you may know, again, in the composition area, there's this sort of ... menu. This allows you to add different applications right into sort of your compose experience. And so, for example, I've added Adobe in this case. We can do an example here. So I can do so Adobe Creative Cloud, for example, or I can @mention this. If I @mention the application, I can go ahead and select, let's say, search the Adobe stock. And what should we search on today? Why don't we search on, how about Minions? Might as well. And then what that will do is that will go ahead and submit that to Adobe, and it'll come back with a set of examples or a set of stock photography. Apparently, Minions wasn't really a good one because it's probably copyrighted content, but at least it kind of nailed the first one. But that will allow you to insert that content right into your post, and other people can interact with it and see it. And we can do this for all sorts of different stuff, right? We can do it for YouTube. We can do it for Trello. Each application has its own way of interacting with it during a composition, which makes it pretty powerful and pretty interesting. So, for example, we use it for bugs here, where we'll be able to just reference a bug and we'll pull up an index to it, and people can click on it and see the content of it really easily. Yeah, so there's a few more questions coming on, so why don't we just take a look at a few things. So one was a question on how do we reorder chat in favorites. So if you come into favorites, let's see.
So go to the chat app.
Yep. Oh, and under chat.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and create a few favorites. And I believe you can just go ahead and drag and drop them around. So, for example, let's create a third one just so it's a little bit more visible. So I can take Patty, for example, and place her at the top of the list if I want. So it allows me to quickly organize it that way. Hiding chat. Finding is a little bit
Murky.
Yeah. So I guess if I hide a chat, how do we get it back at this point?
So that's a question that we hear from a bunch of folks. So this chat, I believe I forget who it was from. You can search for that individual in the compose
So let's say
in the bar bar.
Did Jordan. We hide Jordan.
So we hide Jordan. You can search for Jordan and then start a conversation with him. When you click on it, his chat comes back and your entire history comes back again.
Yep. And you can unhide it.
If you can unhide it then. If you have hidden it and Jordan sends you a message, that chat comes back up. A lot of folks use this hide feature to what I call it as chat inbox zero, which is clear your chat history to be empty. And it's not deleted, it's there for you always, and it always comes back either by searching for it or if someone sends a message in that chat. This applies to both one-on-one and group chat.
Okay. I see that there's a question around, I've added the app stocks, and I can't ask it for a stock price.
Let's try that.
So go ahead and get real-time.
So you have to first agree to install the stock app as one of your personal apps.
Okay. So I guess we can do it there. Get real-time stock quote. I can enter in the symbol.
You should see how Microsoft is doing today.
Sure, that as well.
Ah.
Good news. That's good.
We're up for today at least. Yesterday wasn't that green.
Well, hey. But yeah, so that's how you can actually. Great. So actually with this, I think that's pretty much close to the end of our conversation. What I'd like to be able to do is just open it up for just general discussion or questions and see if you have any feedback or ideas, that you'd like to see us consider. We're open for business.
I'll start off with a question. I think Jennifer asked that earlier. We've addressed part of it, but it'll be good to have a conversation around that. What's the difference between a conversation and a chat, or what's the difference between a channel and a chat, more holistically? So I know you talked about, Mark, the fact that channels are threaded. What that essentially means is that you can have a post or a topic, and then replies that come to that specific topic are all consolidated when you reply to that.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, for chats, it's really going to be about, hey, how do I have a quick sort of one-on-one conversation with an individual or maybe with a group of people, right? But it's all going to be sort of temporarily, it's all going to be kind of stream of consciousness, right? Everybody's typing messages. It's just whatever the history of the messages is, just in whatever order they were sent. With channels, it's a little bit different because I can make a post there, have it be sort of like, a curated post almost, like I'm going to express something that I really want people to consider and have feedback around. It's almost like sending an email in some ways. And when people reply to it, all the replies sort of get captured within the context of that original post. And so that allows that information to all be collected. Now, what happens is if you have lots of posts that are occurring and somebody goes back in time and comments on something that was a previous post, that post, because it was updated, will jump down to the bottom. And so all the context with it and all the stuff that has previously been said will now appear as being the most fresh and most recent content. And so it's a way of keeping the entire discussion sort of together and being able to move it around in the channel.
Yeah, thank you. Some other questions that we have on the chat. I'm just going to read them out. They're not.
Yeah, I mean, literally, we can open up the questions.
Curated. Elizabeth is asking, hey, will an option to minimize the left rail be in the future? Elizabeth, that is something that we are exploring right now. It's an ask that we keep hearing from a few customers, especially who want to be doing multitasking and they don't want the left rail to be taking a lot of their space. So we are exploring that today. However, what you can do is if you reduce the width of the Teams app itself, the left rail automatically collapses when we reach a certain threshold.
Yeah. So there's a question too on what's the best practice for storing thread. I guess what I would say with that, if you retire or close a channel, so there's going to be another session, I believe, on detailed work around Teams and how to configure it and manage the content. So I would encourage you to attend that particular session where they'll likely cover that topic.
One question that we have from Christine is, how is Teams working when we add outside company users? Is it allowed? Can they view everything? If they can you set some channels for them to see and others they cannot? So today in a team, you can invite guests. The way guests work today is they have view rights to all the channels and content within that team. There are certain team level settings that an owner can apply, wherein a channel guest can or a team guest can add or remove channels and do some admin level functionality, so that can be controlled. We are exploring as to how can we restrict access to specific channels for guests. So that's something that we're exploring and keep an eye out for that in the future.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. I just increased my width so that I can fit all the questions in one view or height. Can you elaborate on the tie-in between being a member of a team and its appearance in Outlook as a group? What type of content will appear in Outlook for a particular group? So that's a very interesting question. So a team member, the way it's architecturally in the backend that's done, a team member does belong to that group, but the contents that you view in a team are not visible in the Outlook app. So from a membership standpoint, they do belong to the group, but the team content remains in Teams and is not available outside. Right.
Thank you for your comment on diffusing tension. Yes, our intent is not to spread tension all through the organization. So yes, that's a good comment.
All right.
Sorry, we're seeing the feedback. So somebody made a comment that we misspelled diffuse. So yes, we did. My bad.
Please, so Bill, I know you're asking us to demo arrows in the upper right of tab. So Mark, can you switch over to our live demo and see if we can?
The upper arrows of tab.
Yeah. So let's go to the wiki tab, or let's add a new tab, maybe a YouTube tab. But these are the arrows that Bill is talking about. You can rename or remove a specific tab. On the right-hand side, there are other options where you can get a link to the direct tab. I'm sure we can find how to use Teams YouTube version, Mark. Just search for Teams. While Mark's pulling this up, let me read one more question. So on the right-hand side, there are 3 dots where you can find the link for this specific tab. The advantage of this is you can copy this link and send it over on a chat or a channel, and the user clicking on it would land directly into this channel and inside this tab. It's a quick way to reference a specific tab. On the conversation of link, Marley asked a question. We're having issues with get link user flow. When users select Teams. The link is long, wonky, and doesn't work. The SharePoint option is cleaner and works, but isn't intuitive. Thank you for that feedback, Marley. We are working on figuring out how do we best expose shorter URLs. So that's the feedback that I'll forward to our teams that work on links. Jordan has a question. How do you recommend the governance of channels versus group chat? Or in other words, how do you advise explaining to users that are a part of a large group when to use a group chat and when to use channel?
I think it's so situational. It really depends on how your organization works, and how people want to work. I would say that if you're trying to reach like the entire team, if you're trying to reach everybody, and you're trying to gather feedback on a particular issue, then I think teams and channels are really the way to go. If you want to have a conversation that's maybe sort of between 5, 10 people, and sort of drive an issue to resolution, but do so sort of privately, and then maybe post that later on, then you could use a group chat and then maybe summarize the result of that conversation and then post it back to the channel. But it's very situational. It all depends on how people want to work and how they're most comfortable working with each other. And so we provide both capabilities. There's a range of different ways that people collaborate.
Yeah, it just depends. It just depends on the visibility that you want to create, the access that you want to give. Absolutely. Thor had a comment earlier where he mentioned that he's been training on his side the groups that onboard to Teams, the difference between when to reply and when to start. And his question is, are we doing something to turn on or off the ability to start a new post, or other experiences that we're changing? Thor, absolutely, we are. We're exploring ways how do we best let the users know that they're attempting to create a new post, or that they want to create a new post versus a reply. We generally do see this issue more often in the general channel because everyone is part of the general channel. As a team owner, you do have the ability to stay for the general channel. Only owners are allowed to make a post. That setting works for you for now. You should definitely turn on that setting. But this reply versus new post is something that we've been working on, and we're exploring best ways to support that.
I guess I'd also like to just prompt the audience to say, are there features that you feel like you would really need right now within Microsoft Teams in the chat space that would really help you with your collaborations and communications? So are there additional things that we presented you with a wide range of different features that we have? Clearly, there may be things that you think would be really useful, and I'd love to hear from folks about if there's specific items.
If you guys want to unmute your mic to make a comment, please feel free. Just real quick, while we get people to collect their thoughts, Marley, files that are created inside a team are available inside the SharePoint library. So you should be able to see those by going directly to SharePoint. It is the messages that are sent within Teams that are not available outside.
Hey guys, thanks for the response on my question there about start a new conversation versus reply. I think a feature we love, especially with larger groups, is the ability to archive or pin conversations that have specific information that we want up at the top. Anything to kind of manage those conversations more would be great.
Yep.
Absolutely. We do have both of these constructs, what we call internally in our backlog, and we've been exploring best ways to surface this content. So thank you for that feedback. Jennifer has a question on, is there a way to turn off notifications in conversations when someone has been added to the team? These begin to get cumbersome and distract from the actual post. Within the settings app, when you click on your profile picture and go to settings, you you are able to control certain type of notifications that are sent to you, whether in-app or outside the app via an email, Jennifer. So a new user should be able to configure this. We are exploring other opportunities of making notifications more relevant to you, making them smarter, as well as giving you the ability to turn off certain types of notifications or in certain time. So these are things that we're exploring, and we expect at some point to start lighting those up within the app.
Thank you. And using this screen, what exactly does it mean by banner?
The banner in this case means the Windows or the Mac or the browser notification. Banner might not be the best word, I guess. But it essentially means a toast or a notification.
You cut out at the end. I'm sorry, the very last thing you said, is it basically the pop-up, and is it specific to using the app version, the desktop app, as opposed to a web version of Teams?
So the toast or the notification comes both in the web app and the desktop.
Okay.
The difference is that in the desktop app, it comes at a at the OS level, whereas inside the browser itself, certain browsers like Chrome and Edge do allow you to enable notifications for Teams that come as desktop notifications. But the essential idea is that we want to notify the user that, hey, there's something for you to look at.
Right, and I didn't see an option in those settings for turning off those notifications within the conversation, that you're saying that that might be a future add.
Those specific scenarios are for a future
item,
yes.
There are some really good
I have a.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I have a notification question as well. I was asked specifically to new users. What is the frequency that they get that? They get that first email saying you've been added to a team, and then they'll get something sometimes that they've been mentioned. But what is the frequency? If they're not engaging at all with the Teams app, will they continue to get emails? Does it cut off at a certain point?
No, I believe it will continue to.
Yes, so you will continue to get emails. The emails are a bit delayed. What we do is we give you as the user the opportunity to read the notification within the app. But if you haven't been active in the app for about an hour, if I remember the setting correctly, after an email saying, hey, you've missed these notifications. Again, in the profile settings and notifications, you can control which one of those notifications come as email and don't. So you should be able to control some or all of that.
I think the use case was trying to get somebody who's been, kind of resistant to join the team. If they were still mentioned every few days, would they still get an email? So it sounds like they would.
Yes,
they will, yes.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, the model is if there's activity occurring in Teams, you should definitely be notified of that because somebody needs something from you, right? So we want to pull people back into the application and get them sort of engaged there as much as
and additionally, what I've seen even within our team, folks, even though we completely live out of Teams and we do all our work in Teams, people still keep the email notifications on because they do want to have access to missed content if their Teams app is not active. Yep. So I know people have keep this on.
So a few other questions that came up or comments that came up. So there's one here that is, can we organize our sort of favorite in a similar way to Skype? And so there is a whole contacts tab that is going to make its way out. It actually has been released to some tenants. It's kind of making its way out right now to everybody else. But that will be very, very reminiscent of how Skype for Business organizes all your contacts. So you'll be able to create contact groups, you'll be able to organize them, you'll be able to view sort of all those and easily add additional people. So that will also be present in sort of that chat pane. So today where you see favorites and sort of recent, you'll also see contacts that will appear there, and you'll be able to go click on that and then initiate conversations or manage your contacts. There was another comment that somebody made around how they really wish they were able to pin specific posts, and I think this was similar to a previous comment that was made around, hey, a key decision was reached in this channel, in this post, right? Is there a way to pin that so that people can easily refer back to it, like have key decisions made? I guess one question I would have for the audience is, what is your interest in being able to support something like hashtag? So if we supported hashtags within the product, you'll be able to organize, let's say, have something, a hashtag called decisions, right? And be able to use that as a way of searching against all your posts and retrieve things that are tagged that way. Would that be would that be a good method for your users? And would that be a good method for you? I'm just curious what you think.
Hi, this is Lawrence. Yes, I made the comment about the decisions. I think the hashtag is a way that we can probably mark down important decisions. To be honest, I know a lot of the people that's using Teams, and you won't expect it, but don't really understand the concept of hashtags. But I think as a project manager, it's one way we can probably add, make it easy searchable. So it's an option.
But maybe there's some key categories of types of that you would want to have, and then make it really easy to classify them. Maybe even configure the channel that way so that you have those classifications present. So people would, it wouldn't be as free form as a hashtag, but it could be something that you can configure.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Lawrence had a question or a comment that some indicator that guests are in a channel or team it'll be helpful to let people know, internal folks, that don't overshare information. That does exist. So if you do add a guest on team or channel, there is a header, and the header indicates that this team or channel has a guest. Yalin has a question on, I have an email in Outlook and I'd like to start a conversation about it in my team channel. Any shortcuts? Absolutely. You can get an email address for a channel by clicking on the 3 dots of a channel. That essentially gives you the email address to the channel, and you can just add that email address to the email or forward an email to that email address that comes as a new post within Teams, and then you can start having a conversation in Teams around that new post that you've created. Just keep in mind that any posts or replies that you do to such a post which came from an email only live within Teams. They don't go back out in the email.
There was a question around the ability to post the same content at the same time to different channels. So that is not supported.
We do have a shortcut for that, wherein you can copy the link for a message or a post. And that's what Mark had mentioned earlier during the presentation, that if you wanted to cross-post, one way that we support cross-posting today is to copy the link for that message or a post. It's a formatted post, and then you can paste it in a chat, group chat, or another channel. All right, other questions that we missed from the list.
I'd just like to reiterate what I've seen a couple people mention, including myself, is that until Skype starts tracking conversations and there's a true interop between Skype and Teams, I know I'm having trouble driving adoption at my organization.
So what do you mean by that exactly? So what is the thing that you're looking for? You're looking for just all the conversations being the same across Skype?
Across both. So if I have users that haven't adopted Teams yet, they're still on Skype. If I message them, it doesn't show up in Teams because the Skype prefers Skype, Teams prefers Teams. So if we have both going in our organization right now, I get a lot of like, oh, I tried it, but I was missing messages.
You can configure Teams to be able to interop with Skype, right? So you can send messages between Microsoft Teams and Skype for Business. And vice versa today. So that is a configuration that is supported and that maybe your IT department can configure. But,
yeah, because something's not working because I've had a number of people abandon the product and for that reason. So.
Yeah. So I mean, the way that this should work is that if you have a Skype for Business user who doesn't use Teams, Teams user should be able to actually search them in AAD and Microsoft Teams, send them a text and that, or send them a message, and that message should appear in Skype, and they can initiate a conversation that way. So that may be a configuration challenge that we could certainly pick up with you and follow up on.
That'd be great. Thank you.
So I'm a brand new newbie user, and I can't even start a converse or a chat. It's giving me an error message.
Oh, really? So what is the error message?
Well, I put a name in the to line. It says you're starting a new conversation. Type your first message below. So I typed something and clicked enter, and it says you need to add at least one more person to start a chat.
Okay, so, but you've added a person already?
Yes.
All right, let's see. So, for example, I assume that you're viewing something like this, where start with a name and group. Maybe, let's say, we'll do Adele. This is an existing one, so maybe that's less useful. But you would view something like that, and then you'd be able to just start typing a message, and that should go through. If it's not, that's a odd situation. Let's see if we can find somebody else that I have with.
See if there's a person with P. Pradeep. All right, so you see Pradeep, and then this is the screen that you should be seeing when you start a new chat. And then you should be able to place your cursor on the compose box at the bottom and just say.
And this is where you're getting an error. Is
Yes.
type hello, and it would just fail at that point. Okay.
They wouldn't do anything.
We would love to get more information from you about that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can reach out to Bill maybe afterwards. We'd be happy to look at that as an issue and understand what's going on.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions and comments from the group? Things that have not worked for you or have worked for you while using chats or channels, or in general while using Teams?
Okay. All right. Well, then I think I don't.
Yeah, we don't
We're
have
happy to address more questions. But,
yes.
if you have any
Bill, are there other things that you
you'd like to cover?
you want to cover? Questions that you have for the group?
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Salil. That was great. And yeah, I'd be happy to follow up with the two people who had questions in chat, and the one just now. It sounded like maybe a setup issue is a concern. So probably starting with IT would be best. But my email address is in the chat window, so feel free to follow up an email. And then I just want to say that this session's been recorded, and I will be sending out a recording to the people who signed up for it. So thank you, Mark, and thank you, Salil, very much. I really appreciate all your great work today.
Well, it's our pleasure, and as we release new features and we introduce new things, we'd love to continue doing this as well, and just keep people up to speed on what's new and sort of exciting and what new features we have coming out in Teams.
Oh, sorry. Are we talking over the other guy? Okay.
I'm sorry. Was there something you wanted to mention? No. Okay. I guess we're done.
I think we're done. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good
Hey,
day.
Mariana, we are talking over the other people.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.